And just okay, ma'am, start with ma'am.
Okay. Thank you, Anuradha, for your brief introduction about me. So today I'm going to talk on quality and safety assurance of milk and milk products. So the most important thing, as we know, that the quality of the life, which mainly lies on quality of the product and services we are on. So which will be directly proportional, or I can say we are depending on the quality of the products and services are good, then our the quality of the life will be good. So we'll just talk on important nutritional virtues of milk, why the milk is very important in our life. The most important thing is it is one of the nature's nearly perfect food. So similarly, like egg, we also consider milk as a nearly perfect food because it contains all the nutrients which is required of our body and which is very essential starting from the infants till to the adult as well. It is one of the important nutritional component required in our daily life, and it is a well balanced and nourished diet, and it contains all the vital nutrients, as I said, which is required in your body in the form of proteins, fat, lactose, minerals, vitamins, everything they are there in the milk in the balanced form. And it contains it is also referred as a high nutrient density when you compare with other cereals and pulses. Though the milk produces very less calorie, for example, say for the 100 ml of milk, cow milk will get only 70 to 75 kilocalorie per 100 gram, but the nutrients density are very high even in that small quantity of the milk when you compare with any other cereals or the pulses or any other food in the same ratio, that is in the 100 gram. And it have a many positive benefits. There will contain many nutraceutical and bioactive components. They have very good functional or health benefits in the form of preventing the cardiovascular diseases, anti-hypertensive effect, anti-diabetic property, because of some of the important bioactive components which are there in the milk. They are responsible for enhancing the health of the consumer, and it is because of these all benefits we consider milk as a natural health food or a functional food. So other than the basic nutrients which is being given by the milk in the form of carbohydrates, protein, fat, minerals and vitamins, milk contains very unique nutraceuticals or bioactive components. They are very unique to the milk itself, and which we cannot get it from the other sources, especially the CLA, that is conjugated linolenic acid, which is present in very high amount, especially from milk and milk derived products as well as from the meat. Very scarce in other sources. Butyric acid is very unique short chain fatty acid present in the mammalian milk, and the calcium is one of the very good source in the milk, and it is one of the best source for the good absorption of the calcium in the bone. And beta carotene, especially from the cow milk, caseins, they are unique proteins which are present mainly in the milk. Other than that, sphingolipids, branched chain fatty acids, vitamins, whey protein, there are many bioactive peptides which are present in the milk. They have many health benefits. So coming to the importance of these nutrients, I'll just focus one important nutrient, as I said, about the calcium. So it is one of the excellent source of the source from the milk when you compare with any other food sources. So it is usually having 120 milligram per 100 ml from the cow milk, and from the buffalo milk will get a 180 milligram per 100 ml. So it is highly bioavailable and it is easily absorbed. And the important thing is the ratio of the calcium and phosphorus which is present in the milk is very essential for the requirement of our bone. So we require in the ratio of 1:1 ratio of calcium and phosphorus. And the recommended daily allowance of the calcium, it is about 800 milligram per day. So usually if you take 616 ml of cow milk, you'll get the whole recommended requirement. So when you compare with other sources, so they contain very less amount and they are less bioavailable also. So in order to get the recommended RDA level of 800 milligram, we used to eat 6 kg of meat, 6 kg of tomatoes, and 30 eggs we have to consume in order to meet the RDA requirement. Once you compare with the milk, we have to have two times we can take 660 ml of milk per day. So we'll have a look on Indian dairying, how the production of milk has been increased, what is the per capita availability, what is the export potential in the Indian scenario. We'll go in this. So as we know that India is the number one, the largest producer of milk. It has started from milk deficiency to the sufficiency or in a surplus. So in 1950, we have only producing 17 million tons. But in recent year, that is in 2023 data, so we are producing 230.58 million tons. So, and we compare to the world milk production, it is 950 million tons. We are having a share of 24% of the global milk production, according to the data of 21-22. So, and because of the high milk production, there is an increase in the per capita availability. That is 459 grams of milk per day in India. When you compare with the world per capita availability is very, very less, that is 113 gram of milk per day. And recently, in the last year, the annual growth rate is slightly decline. It is about 3.83% growth rate from last year to this year, with the world growth rate of it is 1.3%. So the growth rate is declining from last 4 to 5 years. In it is 6%, and in the consequent year it was nearly 5 to 5.5% growth rate, but the last year it was declined to 3.83%. So this is the graph. This is the picture which is showing the per capita availability of the milk in different states. The per capita availability in the states is not at all same. It will varies from one state to another. The highest per capita availability is in Punjab, followed by Rajasthan and Haryana. So these three states have a 4-digit per capita availability. It is going more than 1 kg. So here we'll discuss about the species-wise contribution of the milk. The highest contribution of the milk production in India from the buffaloes, followed by cow, both including exotic as well as a non-descriptive cows, which together gives a 45% of the milk production share, and 4% from the 3.5 to 4% from the contribution from the goat species. So here we'll discuss about the utilization pattern. So in India, we consume more than 50%, we consume in the form of liquid milk. The other part, that is about 45%, we use of traditional dairy product, and 5% for the Western dairy product, which includes cheese and other derived products. So out of the 45% of the traditional dairy product, so we mainly use that milk for production of ghee. It accounts for 28%, followed by kova and kova related products where we use 7%, dahi 7%, paneer and channa it is about 3%, and the rest will be it is less than 3%. So here we'll discuss about the food basket consumption, food expenditure, which we are doing daily, both in the rural India and urban India have represented here. Out of the total expenditure, the food expenditure, we are spending 55% in rural India and 43% in the urban India. Out of the food expenditure, the cereals, we will be the expenditure will be very high with respect to cereals. Followed by, if you see the milk and milk product, we are doing 17% in the rural India. In case of urban India, it is about 23%. Unknowingly, we are spending most of our food expenditure. Followed by cereals, it is about milk and milk product. So followed by there is a egg, fruits, sugars, meats and all which comes followed by milk and milk product expenditure. So here we'll discuss about the GDP and the contribution of livestock to the Indian agriculture. So the contribution of livestock sector together to the agriculture, it is about 25%. So the total livestock contribution means which includes milk and milk products, meat products, and the derived products from the livestock together, fish, marine, everything, which together will have a livestock sector contribution, which contributes about 25% of the total agriculture GDP. So the contribution of milk itself to the livestock sector is about 67%. If you see this value, so it is nearly about the contribution, or it is more than the contribution of the cereals and pulses together. The value of food grains, it is about 652 lakh crores, but the value of milk is higher than that of the wheat, rice, and the sugar cane. Though it is a allied commodity to the agriculture, but the contribution of the milk to the GDP is very, very higher when you compare with the main crops which we are growing in our India is like wheat, rice, and sugarcane. Here we'll discuss about the Indian dairy products export. So we are the number one producer of milk, but we have not do any significant contribution or a significant dent in terms of export of the milk product. We are very, very behind or very, very lacking when you compare with other countries in contribution towards the exports of the dairy products. So the data says that in 22-23, the global dairy exports reached 101 billion US dollar. The Indian dairy export constituted 67,572 million tons. They have valued at 284.65 USD million. Okay, it is 101 billion. We are only contributing export to 284.65 USD million. So notably, the Indian dairy export share is nearly 0.25% of the world dairy trade. It is very, very less. It is less than 1% of the contribution which we are doing to the export of the global dairy exports. So despite being, as I already said, dominant contributor to the global milk production, so we are contributing 24% of the world milk production, but we are the dairy exports are, so we are only contributing 0.25% of the world dairy trade. So we have to rethink what possibilities or what way we have to think in order to increase our exports, and we have to see many problems or many issues are there in our India. We need to look into that. But one of the important parameters we have to look for in order to enhance the export of the milk and milk product is with respect to quality and the safety of the milk product. So now we'll discuss. First, I'll go with the quality assurance, and then I'll come with the safety of the product. So what is quality? The quality is the amalgamation of characteristics that have significance in determining the degree of acceptability of the product by the consumer. For anything which we are going to purchase the things or the product, we always see their quality in terms of their characteristics. For example, say if we go to market for the purchase of mobile, we'll always see their features, whether those features which will be meet our requirement that we're going to see. So we'll always see their pixels, what are the features it has, what is battery power, all those things we'll see. And also we'll also look into the price of that mobile. So similarly, so these are the characteristics that has to meet the requirement of the consumer. So similarly, for the food also we can list the different characteristics. The most important characteristics is the sensory quality or the aesthetic quality of the product. So there other things will come later. What is its texture, what is its chemical composition, what is its nutritional quality. The sensory characteristics always comes at the top. So other than the sensory, we can also deal with the characteristics like physical, chemical, textural, microbiological, biochemical, and the nutritional property. So together will what these characteristics if meet the requirement of the consumer, then that we call it as a quality. So one of the important definition which is given by the International Standard of Organization, quality is the totality of the features and characteristics of the product or services that bear on its ability to satisfy the stated and the implied needs. Stated needs are it has been mentioned on that. It is the basic needs are the minimum requirements in terms of what is its fat and its NF, in terms of chemical composition, what is the microbiological standards, okay, some SPC counts that should not be more than, coliform count should be nil. These are the minimum requirements that has, as it has been written are in the label. So here just I'm showing the different dairy products which has been prepared throughout the states in different ways. So here it plays the importance of the quality of the milk and their products. So we can just say in India we celebrate 366 festivals out of 365 days. So where the quality of the milk is very, very important in order to have a safe and better food. So here we'll discuss about the importance of quality of the milk and milk product. So why we have to see the quality of the milk and milk product is because milk is the one of the commodity, as I already said, it has been consumed by all age groups, starting from the infants, weaning foods, as well as in the adults, in the children, as well as the age-old people. We all consume, all age group of the uh, consumers are the people who are going to consume the milk. And another important thing we have to look into the qualities. It is a very, very perishable food. It contains 87% of the moisture. So hardly, if we are not properly processing, the milk will readily spoil after milking within 2 hours of to do processing as soon as possible in order to extend the shelf life of the product because of the perishability and the scope of adulteration because of the wide consumption, and it is required and it is there in our part of the food daily. So there is always a scope of adulteration. People are adding many adulterants and the chemicals for their benefit or a profit. And because of the globalization, there is a huge competition in the processed product. So need to look into the quality of the product. But there are many new technologies that are coming in nowadays. So those technologies need to assure the quality of the product and should be safe for the humans. And there are many safety hazards they come into the picture during the processing, starting from the production till to the consumer. The many kinds of the hazards may be chances of entering into the processing line, maybe in terms of physical, chemical, biological adulteration is one of the intentional menace which has been done by the people for their profit. And the consumer awareness, the people are very health conscious and they are very aware of what they are consuming, whether they have to purchase it or not based on the awareness of the consumer and their demand. So we need to quality milk products. And the statutory regulatory framework, the legal standards are always there in each country. We have to food business operator has to meet the minimum requirements. They have to that standards are mandatory. We need to meet those requirements in terms of chemical, microbiological, as well as the nutritional requirement, which has been laid down by the respective legal standards. So the milk quality checks, the main objective is to purity. So we have to provide the milk with the purity without any kind of contaminants or adulterants. So we also check the milk for its ability to withstand the processing and storage. We always do many checks in the milk before we further processing, especially for the UHT milk, and that we have to do the heat stability test, pasteurization. We have to check before we are dispatching. We have to do the alkaline phosphatase test. The many tests, any product which we are withstanding at very high temperature, we need to check in terms of alcohol test, the COB test needs to be done before we go for the further processing and storage. Legal requirements are one of the important parameters that we have to meet the minimum standard. As I said, with the milk, we have to meet the minimum fat and SNF, which has to be there with respect to the type of the milk which we are processing and packaging, whether it is a toned milk or a double toned milk or a standardized milk, whatever it may be, we have to meet the minimum standard chemical as well as a microbiological parameters in terms of the counts. So nutritional requirements are very, very important, as we have seen that each food which we are packaging, we need to give the nutritional information. What is the carbohydrate? What is its fat content? What is its fatty acid profile? Depending upon what kind of the food it is, we also mention if there is any cholesterol level, is cholesterol content is there, especially in the ghee and all we are mentioning. So if there is any trans fatty acids are there during the processing, if it has been formed, all those things we need to give in the nutritional facts, and how much calories which we are getting by consuming 100 gram of that product. All those things are very, very mandatory, which has been given in the FSSAI regulations, labeling act. So these things needs to be followed. So the quality checks we usually do in terms of its physical, chemical, microbiological, and nutritional quality. So, and we have to choose the methods in order to check the quality of the product. So the first we start with the sampling. The sampling is the representative of the whole sample. So the first starts with the sampling, and we choose the method that should be very reliable, simple, fast, and accurate enough in our very quickly. So before we dispatching the product, so we need to have the results. So that's why it should be very fast enough, simple enough, and accurate enough in order to get the results, especially for the industry where they are producing in a huge level. So the quality and safety issues of milk starts at a different stage, especially at the milk production. So if you're not properly following the clean milk production manufacturing practices, there are many chances of entering the contaminants, environmental contaminants, or by the from the animal itself. Many things which enter into the milk, so that will make the milk products or the products which are prepared from the milk will be inferior, even though we put many processing steps are further processing can be taken care, still the quality will not be going to be at the par. So many during the processing itself, there are many things maybe entering chances of entering the contaminants in terms of disinfectants and all, may get detergents, may get entry into the during the processing of the milk and milk products. So if the handler is not good, from that also it get entry into the product. So during the distribution and follow the proper procedure during the distribution and marketing. If not been stored at a correct temperature and the storage condition, so there will be a spoilage of the product. So all those things we need to take care, and to the consumers, to the consumer also. So we need to give a proper labeling requirement once, especially for the UHT milk and all. It has been usually written the shelf life of 3 to 4 months. But once it is opened, it may not be there for 3 to 4 months. So the proper instruction to be given to the consumer once opened it. So then we have to say that you have to store in the refrigerator. So and you have to consume within 7 days or 10 days. All those instruction to be given. So each stage, starting from the production till it reaches to the consumer, we need to enhance the quality and the safety aspects, so that there should not be any kind of the consequences to the health of the consumer. So there are many regulators which they implementing in the different countries. Each country they have a different regulatory bodies or the authorities. In India, we have a Food Safety Standard Act 2006, and there are many regulations afterwards from 2011, that is FSSR, Food Safety and Standard Regulations 2011. This is one of the mandatory acts. You cannot escape who are handling the food. They have to have a license, and they have to meet the minimum requirements which has been given by the each of the food which has been given to the consumer. So other than the FSSA, we have some voluntary standards in India. One is Bureau of Indian Standards. Voluntary means, so it is not mandatory. So if you wish, you can have you can follow the standards which is given under the BIS or in the AGMAR. so that you can get the certification or you can use the logo of that. So, but Bureau of Indian Standards, which made mandatory for some of the dairy products, especially milk powder, infant formulas, weaning formulas, as well as condensed milk and all, where it is mandatory to have the specifications and have to meet the specifications which is given under BIS. So another is AGMARK standards. Again, it is a voluntary. So it deals both the edible as well as the non-edible foods, raw materials like oils and other cereals and pulses, including butter and ghee. So they also have given a standards for the especially for the butter and ghee. So it is again a voluntary standard. So other than that, in order to export our dairy products, so we need to have a license for Export Inspection Council, that is EIC, for the products to be exported. So other than that, we can also have meet the international standards like Codex Alimentaries, whatever the FSSA which makes a standards are making harmonization with the international standards like Codex Alimentaries. They are making the framing the standards on par with the international standards. So legal standards means the specifications are the requirements which pertain to the law of the government, are set up by the governmental agencies or authorities to meet the certain minimum requirements, that is in terms of purity. So should not contain any kind of the contaminants or any kind of the adulterants. It should be as such once the milk has been produced. Composition, it is in terms of chemical microbiological standards, which is given under FSSA. Microbiological, so it has been given the standards for how much is the SPC count, how much will be the coliform count. There are some pathogenic organisms should be nil, should not be there. The efficiency of processing is also very important. So whether the particular process has properly been done or not. Usually we do pasteurization with the alkaline phosphatase test. Is one of the efficiency check method to check whether the milk is properly pasteurized or not. So similarly, like a sterilization, we do the test in order to see that it has been properly sterilized or not. Like that, we do the different tests in order to check whether the processing has been properly done or not. So, and other than that, the contaminants and residues which are inevitable, they usually come into the product, but we have to fix the MRL level, that is the maximum residual limit, into the milk and milk products, so that that level will be safe for the safe and will not cause any kind of the toxicological effect to the consumer, even if it is present at that level. So, on the packaging and labeling requirement are very, very essential. You need to give all the information so that you can guide the consumer once the product they have purchased, how to consume it, where to store it, and what is its shelf life. And also we have to give the nutritional facts, but actually it contains. All those information need to be given in the labeling requirement. So we'll briefly focus on what FSSA, that is a legal standard which is been there in our India. So we'll discuss briefly about what definition which has been given by the FSSA 2006. Any substances, whether processed or partially processed or unprocessed, which is intended for human consumption. We consider water is also a food because which we are consuming, that anything which is there for the consumption for the human, whether it is completely processed or partially processed, so that all we classify or we can define them as a food. It includes primary foods, genetic modified food, engineered food, food containing such ingredients are infant food, packed drinking water, alcoholic drink, chewing gum, even pan, which is also being considered as a food. The exception is the animal feed, the live animals, and also the drugs have not been included in the definition of the food. So FSSA 2006, which is Act 2006, it consolidates various acts and orders on food-related issues. Earlier, there are many standards which comes under Essential Commodity Act, like Prevention of Food Adulteration Act, meat product order, uh, food product order, milk and milk product order. There are many laws which are there. All these laws which has been replaced by the FSSA. There are many ministries they have been dealing with those laws that creates a lot of confusion. So that's why in the 2006 all these uh, 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 all these standards, commodities, we call them as especially essential commodity standards, they have been replaced with FSSA, and relates with the food safety. Earlier it was Prevention of Food Adulteration Act, so that has been renamed as a food safety is the main importance. Uh, that can be laid down by the standard, that is a food safety standard authority, which has been laid down by the India. It is a science-based quality and safety standard for food. Why it is science-based means we are not just copying the countries. We are seeing that whether these applicable in our country or not. Based on the science study, we are framing the standard. That's why it is called science-based quality and the safety standards of the food. It regulates in each step, that is in the manufacturing, storage, distribution, sale, and import of food, in order to ensure availability of safe and wholesome food for the human consumption. It includes everything that consumed, that is called as a food. So exception in case of drugs not being included as a food. So that has been taken care in other ministry and in other departments. The food business operator is the one who handles the food in one or the other way. So he has to register. Register in the form of, he has to have a license. State and central license are there. He has to register his business, and he has to meet the requirements as laid down by the FSSA for the different food products. And these standards are always harmonizing with the international standard. We are meeting our standards in order to reach the international standard like Codex Alimentarius. So if you open the FSSA blog, there are many being given under food safety and standard regulations. One is food safety and standard license and regulation of food business regulation 2011. There are many things are there: food product standards and food additive. This is the regulation where we can found all the standards for all the food products. And there is a prohibition and restriction on sale 2011, packaging and labeling regulation 2011. There are a list of regulations which has been given in the different years, also in the coming after 2011. So there are many things: packaging and labeling, contaminant, toxin and residue, which is handling in one regulation, laboratory and sample analysis in another regulations, food recall procedures, import regulations. There are many regulations. We can go through fortification of foods. Provision is being made in the FSSA. Earlier it was not there. A special regulation is for the functional foods, health foods, nutraceutical components. There is also provision for the organic foods. All those regulations, they have been coming to the picture after 2011. There are many things which have been listed out. I'm not going in very detail about all those things. So here authority will specially take into account of prevalent practices and the condition in the country. As I already said, so whether it is prevalent or not, based on that will frame the standards. We are not just copying from the other countries. Whether it will be existing or not, based on that, we are going to frame the standard. As I already said, they are the science-based standards for the quality and the safety of the food products. So whatever the standard which we are framing, they are in par with the international standards and practices. We always harmonize with the international standard like Codex Alimentarius. And these standards should be open and transparent for the public consultation. Any changes or any implementation which has been made with the standards for the food. The FSSA has given a time uh, for the public to ask anything. If they have any queries, they can put a question. Why it has been framed, anything they can be discussed. So it will be whatever the standard they have been framed, that is for the interest of the consumer, for the public. And it mainly deals with the prevention of fraudulent practices like prevention of adulteration, deceptive or unfair trade practices, anything. So it has been, there are huge framed by the FSSA based on what type of the severity which has been caused by the food when the consumer has been consumed. If there is just any food poisoning or if any death occurs, it has both huge fine as well as imprisonment has been given. So in this way, they are preventing the unfair trade practices and which misleads or harm the health of the consumer. So it also prevents the unsafe or contaminated or substandard or adulterated food. So these are the standards which has been, whatever the standards which has been framed by the FSSA, which are implementing to the food business operator, but not to the farmer. So the act shall not apply to the farmers or a fisherman or a framing operation, crops or a livestock or aquaculture. So we cannot do any implementation to the farmers or to the fisherman or the one who are producer, the primary producers. For them, the FSSA has not given any restriction. So anything which we are doing after that, this standard will be imposed. And now we'll discuss about the safety assurance of the dairy products. Free from physical, chemical, and microbiological hazards is considered as a safe food. The food should be free from any kind of the hazards. It may come from the physical, chemical, or from the microbiological hazards. The food safety is the assurance that the food will not cause harm to the consumer for whom it is prepared and eaten according to its intended use. This is very, very important. So the food will be prepared to the particular person. So where there should not be any kind of the harm or any kind of the health hazard to the consumer. For example, say we are not manufacturing the biscuit to the infant people. So if we give biscuits to the infants where they have a age of 2 to 6 months, then it will be have a health consequences. They may end up with a diarrhea and that. So that's why it is a very important. So the food will not cause harm to the consumer for whom it is prepared or eaten according to its intended use. For example, so the biscuit is good in quality, it is safe enough, but it is not for the consumption for the infants. Okay? So that then they will not say that having a safety issues. The unsafe food means an article of food whose nature, substance, or quality is so affected as to render it injurious to the health. Unsafe food means any contaminants or any residue or any chemical which may end up the consumer with the injurious to the health, maybe end up with the diarrhea, or maybe those foods we call them as an unsafe food. So the safety aspect is very, very broader, restricting and because the many many safety aspects which also come from the microbiological aspects, the pathogens, the contaminants can also lead to unsafe food. Restricting to the chemical hazards which are responsible for unsafe food, I'm going to cover here. So there are many residues which come from agrochemical, maybe spraying the pesticides or insecticides, which leads to a residues which are left during the processing and during the production. And there are veterinary drugs usually given to the animal for the prophylactic reason or for preventing the diseases. So if you are not properly following the veterinary medication, So there may be chances of residues or the metabolites. They get entry into the milk and to the milk and milk product. So those we call them as a veterinary or the pesticide residues. They get entry into the milk through animal or from the feed which has been and there are many environmental contaminants. They get entry into the milk, packaging migrants from the type of the packaging which we are using, from the metal which we are using. Some maybe not been properly lacquered, some copper, some other metal ion, they get entry into the milk, especially for the acidic foods and all. So the leaching of the metals are very, very prominent when the pH is low. So all those things we need to take care. Otherwise, the food will be getting contaminated. And the processing contaminants like so each processing step after processing we usually wash with the disinfectants and sanitizers not being properly removed. These also get entry into the food product. The natural compounds like the toxins naturally which are present either in the plants or in the marine and in the bacteria they also produce those they are there in the food product. They also release the endotoxins and all from the fungi, aflatoxin and all. They have been released into the food product. Most of the time during the processing, they have not been removed or they are highly heat resistant. They will be there and they have been surpassed the processing conditions. And there are different additives like colors and flavors. Especially the synthetic colors and flavors, they also have toxicological effects. Need to be taken care about the levels. If you are adding above the level which has been given by the processor, which also leads to the toxic effects, the processing aids and the preservatives also to be taken care. We have to see the minimum level or the maximum level which has been laid down by the food additives, which has been given in the food additives. And it has FS has also given what kind of the food they have listed all the food additives and what kind of the food additive to be added in what foods at what level and their maximum level. All those things we need to follow. And the adult trends, they are all adding into the milk for the profit of the middleman or by the food business operator. Thereby, the quality of the product will be inferior. So the residues and the contaminants, as I said, in terms of pesticide residues and antibiotic residues, these are the substance and chemicals and their derivatives such as conversion product. Maybe in the as such are their derived product. Okay, during the because they have to pass through the animal body, there may be the metabolites of the those contaminants in the form of pesticide and veterinary drugs, reaction products and impurities with the toxicity remaining in the plants and animals due to the production measures affected by the chemicals. So we cannot completely eliminate these, pesticides and veterinary drugs. They're always there because in order to enhance the agricultural production, the pesticides, and also in order to cure the diseases, we always have to have antibiotics to be given. So that's why they have been called as a necessary evils. Though we cannot completely escape them, but we have to follow the proper good manufacturing practice or good agricultural practices, proper medication, veterinary doctor consultation to should be done in order to minimize their levels into the milk and milk product. The contaminants like substance that enter the food chain unintentionally and uncontrolled. So we cannot control them because of the industrialization, because of the huge chemicals which we are using and applying to the crops for the enhancing the production and also for the treatment of animals. So these cannot be completely eliminated through the food chain. So there are like heavy metals, mycotoxins. They usually come from the feed, how we are storing the feed, all those things. If the feed is moist, the concentrates, so the aflatoxin, the fungi will grow and they will responsible for producing these aflatoxins. Nitrosamines, polychlorinated biphenyls, these all come from the processing side. These because of the industrialization, we are releasing many of the chemicals to the water bodies. If that water which we are using, if it is contaminated even in a small residue, they get entry into the processing line. So here we'll discuss about how the different contaminants they can enter from farm to the consumer. So first we have agricultural production. There is a transformation, and it has been transported and stored. Followed by it has been manufactured, further transported and distributed to the consumer through trade as well, and finally it reaching to the consumer through this chain, that is from the farm to consumer. There is a chances of entry of environmental contaminants if you have not properly or properly follow the good manufacturing practices or good hygienic practices. The chances of entry of these contaminants will be there. So the agrochemicals usually enters during the agriculture production as well as during the storage. So where during the storage, also in the warehouses and all, the pesticides have been applied in order to kill the pests and all, like rats and all. So there is a chances of contamination with those veterinary drugs, especially for, as I already said, for in order to cure the diseases, or in order to have a prophylactic property, like vaccines have been given for the prevention of any kind of the diseases where they get entry into the animal's body and then to the milk and milk products. The mycotoxins, again during the agriculture production as well as the storage of the fodder at the concentrates, where there is a chances of production of aflatoxin and all. And environmental contaminants, maybe in terms of radionuclides, it may be heavy metals, or it may be any kind of a chemical like polychlorinated biphenates and all. They get entry into the agriculture production, transport to the storage. And the disinfectants, like it may be sanitizers or detergents or any other chemicals we are using. So all they can enter into the different processing steps. And the heavy metals, like it may be a lead or a cadmium or a mercury, they all enter into the agriculture production, transport, storage, manufacturing. After manufacturing, during the transport, it also gets entered. Components can also enter through transformation or during the manufacturing step. Additives also, which we are adding during the transportation, during the transformation or during the manufacturing. There is a chances of entry of food additives into the food line. So there is any migrants. Migrants mean any kind of the packaging which we are using. From that to food, it can enter in any different ways, where it has a direct contact with the food. So these are all contaminants. It leads to a warning for the safety of the food product. So we have to take care all these. We have to follow, as I said, good agricultural practices, good pest management, good practices for the animal health, and good clean milk production. All those things we need to take care in order to have a better quality, in order to get in order to have a good product. So again, I'll discuss about same thing about sources of food contamination. Any food, it can be contaminated with different ways, from the food handler or the man itself has a direct contact with the food, from the packaging material which we are using, from the animals or the birds which they are present in manufacturing places, and from the insects, rodents, garbage or the sewage which are near to the processing place, and from the soil and the air and the dust, water. All these raw materials or ingredients, they are all responsible for the sources of food contamination. So especially with the milk contamination, so it may be come from mainly from the agricultural or veterinary practices. So the pesticide residues and all come with the feed which we are given to the animal, and then it enter into the milk, and the hormones like oxytocin and all, it has been injected, so that also the metabolites or the derivative products are also coming to the milk. And also the environmental pathways like air, feed, and water, soil. There is a chances of entry of aflatoxins, agrochemicals, and metals, heavy metals, and these from the animal, it can enter into the milk. During the processing also, there is a contamination of entry of metals, additives, sanitizer, and disinfectants from the milk and then into the dairy product. Again, the same thing which will add into the processing line where they have a direct contact with the food product. So FSSA also has given a different contaminants they have listed for a different food products. So total there are 10 contaminants they have listed. So especially for the milk, it has been given a MRL level for the arsenic, tin, mercury, methyl mercury. These are all which are common. In plant foods, they have given a met contaminant MRL level for the lead, copper, arsenic, cadmium, and tin. For ice cream, they have given lead and arsenic. FSSA have listed 213 different kinds of the pesticides. For a milk and milk product, they have listed these are the 55 possible pesticides, and they also mentioned the MRL level. So if it crosses that MRL level, we can say that that food is not safe for the human consumption. So similarly for antibiotic residues, 103 antibiotic residues listed in FSSA, 25 for the milk, and there are 5 aflatoxin you have mentioned, aflatoxin M1, which has been given for the milk, and for especially for the melamine is also one of the adulterant, which is usually present in infant foods and other dairy foods, where it falsely increases the nitrogen. We cannot able to detect the melamine, or we can falsely add nitrogen level that in terms of protein. If you do the estimation by the Jordan method, it is a triazine where it contains triazine amino derivative. It contains more than 70% of the weight of the nitrogen. So especially in the China, they have added melamine for the infant formulas and in the pet foods to increase the nitrogen level in terms of protein. So here we'll discuss about the toxicological evaluation or a safety assessment. As I said, so for each environmental factors or environmental contaminants, the MRL level has been given by the FSSA. Fixing the MRL level is very important. We have to first test the non-effect level. Non-effect level means that is the level at which even if the consumer consumes in the food, that will not going to have any toxicological effect or that is safe for the human consumption. So that kind of non-effect level can be derived by many assays, bioassays, by doing in vitro and in vivo methods, by determining the IC50 value, that is the where there is a 50% of the death will occur. So there are many methods which we are using by doing with carcinogenicity, mutagenicity, tetragenicity, any contaminant that should not affect any organs of the body. So that there are different bioassay to be done in order to fix non-effect level. From the non-effect level, we're going to derive acceptable daily intake, that is a ADI. The acceptable daily intake level is the level minimum dose that will not going to have any toxicological effect to the consumer, even for the lifelong consumption. So based on that study, we're going to derive the acceptable daily intake. From the acceptable daily intake value, we'll put a safety factor into that. For example, say acceptable daily intake value is 1 milligram for the particular pesticide, I say. Then we'll put a 10 times safety factor, 1 by 10. 1 by 10 means it is a 0.1 milligram. 0.1 milligram will be the maximum residual level. So the safety factor will be put it into the acceptable daily intake value, so that that level is safe enough even if it is present in the minute concentration. So the same thing on effect level. So this is the observable effect means that that is the concentration where that leads to a toxicological effect. So we have to reduce the concentration, that is the dose, without observable effect. Without observable effect means that does not cause any toxicological effect to the human after consumption of that contaminant. Okay, followed by we have to put a safety factor, and thereby we can derive the acceptable daily intake value, that is milligram per kg body weight or milligram per person per day. So from the ADI, we will derive the maximum residual limit, that is MRL, usually expressed in terms of milligram per kg of the food stuff. And that MRL level will be derived for the particular food based on what type of the food we daily take, and in what food particular contaminant is there. So on daily basis, together we'll calculate and we'll decide the maximum residual limit level. So we need to have measures to contain or reduce the residues or contaminants. As I said, we need to have a good agricultural practices. We should not spray the more pesticide residues without any, we should not spray excess. We have to see at what stage we have to spray those pesticides for prevention of what kind of the pest it is. And while at the time of harvesting, we should avoid the spraying of these pesticides. All those that we call it as a good pest management or the good agricultural practices to be followed in order to reduce to a minimum level of these contaminants. Good veterinary practices to be followed, and we have to have a consultation with a veterinary doctor in order to give any kind of the antibiotics. And we have to follow the proper carryover rate, and it is usually fixed for 72 hours, and it may be 2 days or 3 days. We have to avoid mixing those diseased animals with the herd which is good in health condition. And we also have to have a good manufacturing practices, clean milk production to be followed, regulatory mechanism to be stringent, and we have to strictly follow regular monitoring by the FSSA. And also we have to have a standard, or we have to follow the practices which on par with the Codex Alimentaries, that is international standards. We also see the traceability that is producer, and also have a food safety management system. We have HACCP, we have ISO 22000. We have there are many standards which are there. We need to strictly follow the quality management system ISO 9001. So we can also follow the good organic farming, where we have to avoid the use of chemicals while rearing the animals, as well as for production of the grains, the cereals, and the pulses, through which we can able to reduce these contaminants and residues into the food chain, and then to the animals, then to the milk and milk product. So another important thing is adulteration. So people are doing the adulteration for their profit, in order to gain their profit. So so adulteration is become a menace where the quality checks have not been done. The country like India, where because of the huge population, we don't have stringent quality control. We have seen in the many news that so the adulteration become huge, and it has been we are seeing in one or the other day with respect to the different methods are available, as we already know that. So the wet chemistry, like we can add milk, and with the particular chemicals we can change the qualitative tests are available. By changing the color, we can able to detect the adulteration in the milk. There are different nowadays. We have instruments which are available in each collection center. They quickly check the adulteration along with the what is its fat, what is its SNF, whether it has been adulterated with the water or not. Water is one of the important adulterant which has been added into the milk in order to raise the volume, and in order to compensate the added water, people are adding very cheap adulterants like sugar, glucose, and other sugar syrups can be added in order to adjust the SNF content. So there are many instruments that are available. Indian FOSS is the one. FOSS instruments are one where they have been uh, designed based on the infrared spectrophotometer. So they are very quick enough in order to get the results for the detection of adulterants along with other quality parameters. So in Gadwasu also, NDR also, they have developed many kits for the detection of adulterants, the commonly added adulterants. So other than the institute like High Media, there is a Penny Impact Private Limited also developed many kits for checking the adulteration in the milk. There are also strip-based methods are also available. You just dip the strip into the milk; it will change the color. Again, for the qualitative analysis, they are very very rapid, and it avoids the use of direct handling of the chemicals. And Delmos is one which has been that India has been transferred this technology to Delmos. So these are also commercially available. The strips are commercially available in order to check the adulteration in the milk. So other than that, there are many instruments are also available, ultrasonic based instruments, Fourier transfer infrared spectroscopy. There are light scattering based on the light. There are different instruments which are available in order to detect the adulterants in the milk. Atomic absorption spectrophotometer can be used for the detection of heavy metals detection, like you can able to detect that arsenic can be detected by using AAS. So this is another important instrument like milk screen. So this is very quick enough. It can be placed in the milk collection center. So other than giving the quality parameters like what is its fat, protein, and SNF, it can check the added water, urea, sucrose, maltodextrin, ammonium sulfate. So this is also one of the good instrument can be placed in all the quality control labs in order to check the adulteration. So here I'm discussing about some of the restriction on sale. So as I said, the BIS make it mandatory for some of the foods like infant formula, milk cereals, based weaning foods, and all. It made it mandatory in order to meet the specifications which has been given by the FSSA. Okay, so that's why it has been said that these products shall not be sold except under the Indian Standard Institution certification mark. So it has to meet the BIS standards in order to do the certification or for selling those products for the consumer. So another important thing in order to have a safety aspect very important. So these are the 11 parameters that has to be ensured on the label of the packaging material. We have to mention the name of the food, what are the ingredients which are there in that product. You have to give the nutritional facts, what is it, what is the carbohydrate, protein, what is the fat, anything which has to be listed out, and also you have to write what is the energy which you are getting by consuming 1 gram or 100 grams of the product. Declaration regarding the vegetarian and non-vegetarian, you have to give the label. Green label, we usually give it to the vegetarian, and for the brown, for the non-veg food, that has to be declared. Declaration regarding food additives, any food additives, permitted food additives which has been added to the food product, that has to be listed. For example, ice cream usually add stabilizers, emulsifiers, colors, flavors. That all we have to be listed. What are the food additives? It has been added into the food product. Net weight or the quantity have to mention. What is the code, batch number, identification. Barcode is there nowadays. It is easy for identification of which batch belongs to, all those things, date of manufacture, best before date, use by date, all those things are very in order to give a better information to the consumer, and how to store the product, instruction of a use, especially once whether it has to be stored in the refrigerator or not, whether you have to keep it in the room, or once you open the label or the packaging, especially as I said with the UHT won't be there for 3 months once the pack has been opened. So the clear instruction to be given that it has to be stored in the refrigerator for within these days. We have to consume that. All those information, instruction for the consumers is very important. Otherwise, though it has been having that much shelf life or that quality, that will be deteriorate if you are not being instructing the consumer. Name and the complete address of the manufacturer, who has manufactured, where it has been manufactured, where it has been. Sometimes manufacturing will be done at one place and packaging will be done at the other place. All those information, who has manufactured, where it has been packed, all information to be given for the consumers, in order to get the in order to retain the same shelf life which has been mentioned on the label. So the same thing which I have written here, the labeling requirement, foods, these are the information which has to be given. So another important thing which has been done by the SSS is the National Milk Quality Survey, which has been done in the year 2018. So this survey is to assess the quality and safety of the milk across the country. And this survey conducted over a period of about 6 months, and it addressed about the quality parameters like SNF and fat and SNF, whether it's meeting the legal standards or not. All those things they have done. 13 adulterants, they have checked 3 contaminants, especially pesticide residues, aflatoxin, and antibiotic residues. So it covers 18 pesticides, aflatoxin M1, and 93 antibiotic residues have been covered in these survey. And so this survey did not include any microbiological parameters. They have not been done any microbiological related tests. This survey reveals that milk in India is largely safe, but even though the quality issues persist. The quality issues persist means these are the quality parameters like what if it's fat and SNF. If that own milk, it has to be having minimum requirement of 3% fat and 8.5. So those milk may not be meeting the quality requirements, and there may be some adulterant like addition of sugar, addition of glucose. These having a quality issue but not a safety issue. By consuming those, will not having any effect on having any health or the toxicological effect. That's why we say. So based on that survey, we say that the milk is largely safe, but there is a issue in terms of quality aspects. So I'll quickly will discuss about this survey. So they have collected 6,432 samples across the country. So both raw milk as well as processed milk in terms of pasteurized milk, or it may be UHT milk in the different variants. It may be tone milk or a double tone milk or a full cream milk, standardized milk, all those things. So in the raw milk, it have a mixed milk, buffalo milk, and a cow milk. And in the processed milk, it may be as I said, DT, that is a double tone milk, full cream milk, standardized milk, and tone milk, and other types of the milk they have covered. So out of the 6,432 samples, they have raw and the processed milk. Compliant means it is in with it meets the standards. There is no issue with that. So non-compliant means they are the substandard samples. So the non-compliant without safety issues means that does not have any safety effects, means that does not contain any kind of contaminants like aflatoxins or pesticides or any veterinary residues. These are the ones, the non-compliance with the safety issues. There are 638 samples they have found with these. So that's why the total samples without safety issues are 90%. The unsafe samples where there is a safety issue, that is are 9.9%. That's why. So whatever that based on this survey they have said, the milk is quite safe in India, whatever it is produced, but there is a issue with the quality. So the same thing I have given here. These are the non-compliant samples due to the quality concerns, but there is no safety issues. Quality concern means those are the milk samples which they are not meeting the fat requirement or not meeting the SNF requirement. They have found the presence of maltodextrin, the carbohydrate derivative, but not giving any safety concern. But addition of these is also a
Veena ma'am, you are not audible.
that the chemicals are the adulterants. They have been found in the milk fat at the rate of 9.9%. So I'm concluding here that milk is considered as a wholesome and nutritious food. So, and the production of milk occurs in an environment considerably shaped by the human because of the human intervention. There is a contaminating the milk. So, in the quest for enhanced production and productivity, because of the industrialization and all, the many chemicals are used in almost every step, which could lead to the contamination of the milk during the agricultural production, during the feed management, and during the processing of the milk. Many enter into the milk because of that, which leads to a food quality and the safety issues. So the consumer are very aware of the chemicalization, and they are very health conscious, and they are consuming and they are eating what they are paying for. Because of their awareness, we need to manufacture those foods which are safe enough. And milk is one of the relatively safe food. And I've already said with respect to the survey, there is a quality issue that needs to be addressed, and the regulatory mechanism further enhances the safety of the food which is consumed by the first stringent standards, and the stringent regulatory steps need to be taken in order to avoid these kind of adulteration, in order to sell the substandard food for the consumers. And a commitment to elevate the quality standards to the global excellence is underlined. For that, we have to necessitating the implementation of stringent quality control measures throughout the production chain, and the integration of cutting-edge technologies for the robust quality assurance need to be taken care. So this is just talking about the way the importance of milk and milk product has been placed in the third after the fruits and vegetables, after the cereals products. So need to be taken 3 times a day, and it is required for all age groups. So in the food pyramid, the milk and milk products are very important and very essential. Similarly, with other cereals, fruits, vegetables. So these are also one of the important component of our food pyramid. Need to be addressed with the quality and the safety aspects in order to give the wholesome food and safe food to the consumers. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am, for this nice and informative lecture. Participants, if you have any query, please ask. Or you can write in the chat box also. Dr. Priyanka Meena, you have raised your hand. Do you have